The Finno-Ugric languages are more broadly the Uralic languages, which include the Samoyedic languages still spoken in the Russian Siberia, are a group of non-Indo-European languages which ironically are still spoken natively mostly by white European people. Of course, the Finno-Ugric and Samoyedic languages, especially the Finno-Ugric ones, have received many loan words and also taken loan words from various Indo-European languages, especially Russian, but also German, Swedish, French, and so forth. They are spoken mostly in, well, Northern Europe and then northeastern and central, western and central Russia, and then partly also in eastern Russia. Attempts at reconstructing a Proto-Finno-Ugric proto-language, which would have been the original language of all these current languages, except for the Samoyedic languages, have not been very successful. Those attempts are largely indistinguishable from Proto-Uralic, suggesting that Finno-Ugric might not be a historical grouping but a geographical one, with Samoyedic being distinct by lexical borrowing, in other words borrowing words, rather than actually being historically divergent. It has been proposed that the area where Proto-Finno-Ugric was spoken, or supposedly spoken, reached between the Baltic Sea in northern Europe and the Ural Mountains on the borderline between the European and Asian regions of Russia. Traditionally, the main set of evidence for the genetic proposal Proto-Finno-Ugric has come from vocabulary. A large amount of vocabulary, for example the numbers 1, 3, 4, and 6, the body part terms hand and head, is only reconstructed up to the Proto-Finno-Ugric level, and only words with the Samoyedic equivalent have been reconstructed for Proto-Uralic. Various linguists, however, have criticized that methodology, as no coherent explanation other than inheritance has been presented for the origin of most words in the Finno-Ugric vocabulary, although it has been explained, or researchers have explained, that a small number of words have been borrowed a long time ago from Proto-Indo-European language or its immediate successors. The Finno-Ugric group is usually dated to approximately 4,000 years ago, or about 2,000 years before Christ. The Samoyedic one a little over 2,000 years ago, so around the birth of Christ. The consonant sh, or the voiceless post-alveolar fricative, has not been conclusively shown to occur in the traditional Proto-Uralic lexicon, but is attested in some of the Proto-Finno-Ugric material. Another feature attested in the Finno-Ugric vocabulary is that I, or I, now behaves as a neutral vowel with respect to front-back vowel harmony, and thus there are roots such as niwa, or to remove the hair from the from hides. Regular sound changes proposed for this stage are few and remain open to interpretation. Researcher or linguist Sammallahti, in his or her book from 1988, proposes 5, including Mr. or Mrs. Janhunen's reconstruction in 1981 of Proto-Finno-Permic. Compensatory lengthening or development of long vowels from the cluster of vowel plus a particular syllable final element of unknown quality symbolized by X. Long open A or double A and A or double A with 2 dots above the 2 A's are then raised to mid O or double O and E or double E respectively. For example, njaksli, njali, njeli, to swallow, in Finnish niele or niella in its basic form, and then Hungarian njel, which is surprisingly close to the Hungarian word for language njelb. Raising of short O to U in open syllables before the subsequent I. Shortening of long vowels in closed syllables and before a subsequent open vowel A, predating the raising of A and E, double A with 2 dots above it and double E. For example, njaksel and ma, or njalma, njalma, tongue, in northern Sami language njalbmi, in Hungarian njelb, etc. The Finno-Ugric group is not typologically distinct from Uralic as a whole. The most widespread structural features among the group all extend to the Samoyedic languages as well. Modern linguistic research has shown that Volgaic languages is a geographical classification rather than a linguistic one, because the Mordvinic languages, or Erzya Mordvin and Moksha Mordvin, are more closely related to the Finno-Lappic languages than the Mari languages, the Meadow Mari and the Hill Mari, which used to be called the Cheremis languages. Some linguists criticizing the Finno-Ugric genetic proposal also question the entire Uralic family's validity, instead proposing a Ural-Altaic or Altaic hypothesis, within which they believe Finno-Permic may be as distant from Ugric as from Turkic. However, nearly all other specialists in the Uralic linguistics have rejected this approach. Still in the 20th century, it was claimed that the Finnish language belonged to the Ural-Altaic languages, but by the early 21st century this has been rejected. The Uralic languages are now treated as a distinct group from the so-called Altaic or Altaic languages, such as the Turkic languages and even such Eastern Asian languages as Japanese and Korean. According to Häkkinen in 1983, the alleged Proto-Finno-Ugric loanwords are disproportionately well represented in Hungarian and the Permic languages, and disproportionately poorly represented in the Ob-Ugric languages. Therefore, possibly such words have been acquired by the languages only after the Uralic family initially was dissolved into individual dialects, and that the scarcity of loanwords in Samoyedic results from its peripheric or isolated location. Let's look at numbers. The number for 1 in Finnish is yksi. In Estonian, almost the same, yks. In Bero or Southern Estonian, yts. In Livonian, which now is a dormant language, which means that it doesn't have any living native speakers. The last known native speaker of Livonian, Ms. Griselda Kristinja, died as an immigrant in Canada in 2013. However, some tens of people of Livonian or part Livonian descent, such as the singer, apparently songwriter and cultural activist Mrs. Julgi Stalte have learned the language. Mrs. Stalte's paternal grandfather was a Livonian, and she, along with her little brother or sister, is featured, and briefly also her parents is featured in a documentary called The Livonian Stories, produced by the Estonian television between 1988 and 1990, and then first broadcast, I think, in 1991. Mrs. Stalte was born in 1978. She's one of the rather few fluent speakers of Livonian. Then Samic, Northern Sami, which is the Sami language or dialect with the largest number of native speakers, Okta, the Inari Sami, Ohta, or Ohta, then the Erzya Mordvin language, Veike, the Erzya or Moksha Mordvin language, Fka, then the Medo Mari language, Ikte, the Komi language, Atik, the Mansi language, Aqua, the Khanti language, It, the Hungarian language, Egy, and possibly the Proto-Finno-Ugric language, Ykte. And then, in that order, the words for two, kaksi, kaks, kats, kaks, guokte, kiehti or kyehti, kavto, kafte, koket, kik, kityg, kat, kettö, keet, kakta. 3. Kolme, kolm, kolm, kuolm, golbma, kulma, kolmo, kolme, kumet, kuim, hurum, kolem, haarom, harm, kolme. Then 4. Neljä, neli, nelli, neljä, njalje, nelji, nilje, nilje, nilä, nölöt, nöl, nöl, nila, nelä, nej, neljä. Then 5. Viisi, viis, 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 vihta, vitta, vefe, vetä, wizard, bit, at, wet, öt, viite. Then 6. Kuusi, kuus, kuis, kuus, guhta, kuttaa, kutta, koto, kotö, kudöt, kvait, hot, kut, hot, kuute. Then 7. Seitsemän, seitse, säidse, seis, chieja, chitsham, chitsham, sisem, sisam, shemöt, sisim, sat, tapet, het. 8. And for that one, likewise for 8, 9, and 10, apparently no. Okay, yeah, for 7, 8, 9, no reconstructed forms of Proto-Uralic language. 8. Kahdeksan, kaheksa, katasa, kada, codex, gavtsi, kavtsi, kavkso, kafkse, kandash or kandashe, kökjamis, njololov, Növöt, Njolts. Then 9. 9, 9, Ytesä, Idaks, Ovtsi, Ovtse, Veikse, Vetskse, Indeshe or Indeshe, Ökmis, Ontolou, Yaryuan or Yaryuan, Kilants. And finally 10. 10, kymme, kymme, kim, logi, love, kemen, kemen, lu, das, low, longet, tis, and luke. The 4 largest groups that speak Finno-Ugric languages as their native languages are the Hungarians, whose number is estimated at 14.5 million, Finns an estimated 6.5 million, Estonians 1.1 million, and Mordvins 850,000. 3 of them, Hungarians, Finns, and Estonians, inhabit independent nation states, and in only those 3 countries are Finno-Ugric languages official languages. However, some Finno-Ugric languages have achieved the status of recognized minority languages, at least regionally, such as Finnish in Sweden, and then one of its northern or northwestern dialects, the so-called meänkieli, or our language, in northern Sweden, and then various Finno-Ugric languages spoken in Russia. The Mordvins have an autonomous or self-governing Mordovian republic within Russia. However, less than a third of them live there. The traditional area of the indigenous or native Sami people is in northern Fennoscandia and the Kola Peninsula. In other words, in northern Norway, northern Sweden, northern Finland, and northwesternmost Russia, and is known as Sapmi, or the Sami land. Some other Finno-Ugric peoples have autonomous republics in Russia: Karelians in the Republic of Karelia, Komi in the Komi Republic, Udmurts in the Udmurt Republic, the Mari or Maris in the Mari-El Republic, and the Mordvins in the Republic of Mordovia. The Khanty and Mansi peoples live in the Khanty-Mansi Autonomous Okrug of Russia, while the Komi Permyaks live in Komi-Permyak Okrug, which used to be an autonomous okrug of Russia, but today is a territory with special status with Perm Krai. So let's look at the languages themselves individually. Approximately 25 million people, that's a rough estimate, speak these languages, so we cannot talk of any great language group. So the traditional classification is the following one. The Finnic, sometimes also the Balto-Finnic languages, and they include Finnish proper, Estonian, Karelian, Veps, Ingrian, Votic, Ludic, and Livonian. And we have to remember that Karelian itself is divided into 2, well, largely mutually intelligible dialects, which also sometimes, however, are treated as separate languages. Karelian proper, also known as the White Sea Karelian or Vienan-Karjala in Finnish, or sometimes Northern Karelian, although few Finns use that name so that it would not be mixed up with the Savonian dialect traditionally spoken in the Finnish province of North Karelia. And then the so-called Olonets or Aunus Karelian, which is spoken still to some extent on the shores or near the shores of lakes Onega and Ladoga in northwestern Russia. Then there is a third dialect, the so-called Tver Karelian, which is spoken in the Tver region over 100 kilometers to the northwest of Moscow, where since the 17th century there has lived a notable Karelian minority, although because of the Sovietization and Russification policies, many, if not most, Tver Karelians either no longer speak the language or only speak it to some extent. However, since the Soviet Union's breakup, there has been an increased interest in reviving the language. And there is now a great concern among those people who care about these issues that many of these languages are in danger of becoming extinct. Livonian, as I already mentioned in this video earlier, is now a dormant language with no known native speakers of the language. However, there are tens of people who have learned it, for example, from their grandparents. Then the Votic language is very close to becoming a dormant language.